Okay. I think I will close the creation screen in the background there. So, if we want to add, we want to create a new worksheet. In Worksheet Builder, you use the Add button. You're adding a new worksheet. So that brings you to Add Mode, and then that lights up the Add Row button at the bottom here. So at first you add a worksheet, and then you want to add a row to your worksheet. And when you do that, you'll get a set of 6 different options to add a record to that worksheet. If it's the first record I'm adding, I can add an analysis above or below an existing record. Well, there is no existing record, so I can say add above or add below, either one I want, since it's the first record. If I want to add an analysis, I would choose one of those. If I want to add a record from another worksheet, above an existing row or below existing row, I would choose one of those. Or if I want to add a QC from the table, I can add above or below an existing row. Okay, so let's just start with a simple case. We'll just say add below. And then it brings me to what's equivalent to the worksheet creation lookup screen that you're used to seeing. Again, I'm running off the screen in this case. I'm going to shrink it down a little bit. Okay. And this is the kind of thing you're used to. You can query for an existing an analysis by task or by method or by section, however you choose to do it. I had logged in some samples to the demo, a test system yesterday, I think it was, so I'm just going to query by a session number. Okay. I'm off one. Okay, so that brings me all the analyses on those 3 samples, 504, 5, and 6. So this is a procedure that has a prep test. So there's 3 samples there, there's 3 prep tests. I'm going to just go ahead and add those 3 preps to the worksheet. Get this down out of the way a bit. Say add. Okay. What's that? Let's stretch this over to see the whole thing there. Okay. So that's pretty analogous to worksheet creation so far. Now, once I did that, this Load QC template button lit up. There's some choices on how you can add QC. In this case, there's only one test on the worksheet, so it presents the option to add the QC template that's associated with that prep test. If there's QCs in the test definition defined to be part of that template, you can choose to add those. It doesn't automatically do that. It doesn't automatically do that as it did in worksheet creation. You can select to add that template if you wish. So I'm going to do that. And going by the test definition, the template is added in positions 1, 2, and 3, and it shoves down the 3 samples that I had added. Questions on that? These 3 records are defined in the test definition. Those 3 QCs get added.
Mary, I have a question. Does that automatically put those in the first 3 positions, or can you tell it what positions to put the QC into in the template?
Yep, good question. It'll put those in the position that the test definition has them in. Good to show. So that's driven by the test definition. that's the test we added. This is what the template is picking up to put on the worksheet. Positions 1, 2, and 3, and they're fixed in this case. Scroll it up. Anything else on that?
If you do not have a template for your QCs, it says load template. If you have to manually do it, where is that
We'll get to that.
at?
That's next.
Yep. So Marina was asking how to add other QCs. So this is for the QC template. There, so we did that. Then this other button lit up, undo QCs. So if I decide, oh, I really didn't want that template loaded, I can select to undo what I just did. Take the template items off of there. I add back in if I want to. I really, really didn't want them. Okay. Okay, so then regarding Marina's question, if I don't have a template or I don't want to load the template, I can go back to add row, say I want to add, actually, in this case, I'm going to go ahead and leave the template there. Okay, then I can go to my last row and say, well, I want that, but I also want some other QCs. So I go back to add row, and I can add them above or below wherever I've selected the current row. Row 6 is highlighted, so if I want to add some more QCs from the table, the QCs that are defined in the system, I can say add below that, and it brings you to the QC lookup screen, which I think is identical to what we had before,
Okay.
or what we've always had. And this is method 525, so I'm going to look for whatever 525 QCs I have in the system. And there they are. So we go ahead and add a few of those. Let's say I want a matrix spike and a matrix spike duplicate. And one of those. That's a good start. Oh, let's see. I don't want to add a duplicate too. Okay. I can stretch this down so I can see it better.
Is it going to add it in the order in which you clicked on it, or the order in which you saw it on the screen?
I'll let Matt answer that one.
I think it's the order you click on it. I believe it's the order that you click on it, but I would have to double check that. Try it out and find out.
Yeah, just add some more. Okay, so I want to add, okay, let's see. I'll do this. There are 1, 5, and 10 listed there. I'll add them in order of 10, 5, and will that do it?
Mm-hmm.
Thank God you want. Looks like it's in the
The
order you
order you
select them.
click.
Yeah, I really don't want those three, so I'm going to get rid of. Okay. Going back to this undo QC, if I don't want those three, if I go to this button, I can either undo what was added from the template, undo all of those that I manually added from the lookup, or undo all of them. Well, I really don't want any of those choices. I just want to get rid of these three, so I'm going to highlight those three again and say remove. So that's another way to get rid of QCs or analyses for that matter. Okay, so there's my worksheet. I have 10 runs on there. Let's say I'm looking at it and, oh, you know, I'd really like to put that duplicate up closer to the sample that it's a duplicate of. If I don't like the order, I can highlight that one and say, move up. And that moves that item up to where I want it, right? Move it back down. Okay, and it just shifts. Shifts the ones above, the one above it below. Okay. Now, if that's the sample duplicate I want to link, which one it's a duplicate of. If I click in that drop-down, it shows me everything on the worksheet and allows me to pick whichever one. Let's say it's a duplicate of 5506. Simply select that, and let's say I'm running a matrix spike on 5504. So I go to matrix spike in that field and select 5504, and I'm running a matrix spike duplicate on the same one. Select those like that. It shows the position number 6, 4, and 4 next to a session number there.
Which is handy in case you have multiples of the identical rows on there, to tell you which one you're actually pointing to. So for example, if you had 2 of the 5505 on there, you would know, well, I'm looking at 4 or 5.
Now, what happens if I decide I don't want 5504 in position 4? I want to move it up a row. Well, this is 5504. I'm running matrix spike. The matrix spike default. If I move it up, it updates that position for you. It keeps track of it. It's 5504 is now in position 3, so it updates that. Yeah, I want it back down. Good so far?
Yep.
Okay. Okay. I think the only button we didn't really talk about down here is the duplicate, and that's just what it sounds like. If I have an item on here and they decided, well, I really want to do that QC twice, I can simply say duplicate that, baby. Just press the duplicate button, and if you want.
It also duplicates a sample.
Yes.
It'll also duplicate a sample. Remove row, however, you can only do one at a time. I can reselect it.
You can do multiple. You can fix that.
You already did that.
You showed it.
Sorry, yeah, yeah, that's right. Sorry, yeah, you're right, you can remove multiple. I think what I meant was you have to re-highlight there to select another.
Yeah, if you're doing one at a time, yes.
Yeah, so if I say do what you do, I can remove a group, remove all those, but if now I have to reselect it again. That's what,
Hey, Terry, if you duplicate an analysis, does it add an extra test to that sample, or how does it communicate with that?
It only adds a new row on the worksheet, so it's linked to the same, exact same test on the sample.
Any questions about these buttons down at the bottom? Okay, the tabs over on the left, I do want to show you the Analytes tab. That's something new. It does in fact show, correct me, Matt, the reportable, what are they?
Since you're in add/update mode, it shows you all the possible analytes for that test. If you were in just query mode, you're just looking at the record, it shows the currently assigned ones. And whether they're marked reportable or not.
Okay. So in the mode I'm in now, this checkbox is dead. There's no functionality to that checkbox. That's a reportable checkbox, right? Is that wrong?
It's because you're on a QC. When you're on a QC, if you're on a QC, since you can't change the reportable flag on a QC, it just shows you the analytes. But if you're on a sample record, it lets you change that.
Okay, I see that. So I can make that reportable right here if I choose to. These are prep tests, so there's no reportable analytes. Okay. Then in the header, these new fields up here, you notice the format now says default total, which was put in there when we added the first analysis. This allows you to select a different worksheet format. normally this was all done, in worksheet creation, this was all done in the background for you. Again, goes back to the test definition. And so it picked default total because the first analysis on the worksheet had that worksheet format in the test definition. Does that make sense? If I have more than one test on the worksheet, and they have different worksheet formats in the test definition, it's going to choose the first one that it comes to on the worksheet. Correct, Matt? But you can change it if you want to. There's all your choices. So I could pick default total with font limits, or just default total, or whatever one it defaults to. I can pick a different one as I'm first building the worksheet. After we commit it, that format can't be changed. So, environmental Iowa City, this is the one that typically is picked for the analytical test. For the preps, it's typically that one, or that one. Most of the time you won't have to think about this because it'll choose it for you. It'll default to the correct one most of the time. The other field that's new here is this description field. I think that's a 60-character limit. And when I commit the worksheet, it will, by default, if nothing else is there, it'll put in the test and method. It'll put in the test and method for you of all the tests that are on that worksheet. Up to 60 characters. But it's free text, so I can also put in other information to describe the worksheet if I choose. And I can pick an instrument name if I want to. That'll be the right one. Okay, before I commit this, what have I missed?
Units.
Oh, yeah. Matt's telling me I missed the units. So this does show the units that are associated with that analysis. I can edit that. In this case, I only get one choice because of the way the test is set up. But I do have an example. I'll put another test on here that's really doesn't go with this, but just for demonstration purposes. This says micrograms per kilogram. I'm going to add that to the same worksheet just to show it. There. So if I'm building my worksheet and I see that unit on there, I realize it's not the right one. I want a different unit. I can change that here. Since it's a drop-down menu, I need to clear the field, or I guess I can backspace.
Since autocomplete.
It's autocomplete. That's why I have to clear. So I clear the field, then it'll give me the choices from the test definition that are available. So if I really didn't want whatever it was, micrograms per kilogram, I can choose a different one as I'm building a worksheet. Please.
That description up there, the description up at the top, earlier you and I were talking about where we would put in DOC information. Is that the description we were talking about earlier?
It is, and yeah, I think I'll commit this, and I want to show how it puts in the test and method. I commit that. It fills that in for you. I got the volatiles on. Okay, so it puts from each test that's on there, it'll try to put that in up to 60 characters. If I realize at this point, okay, it's committed, and with worksheet creation, I can't change anything. With worksheet builder, I can say update and go back and say, well, I really didn't want that on there. Get rid of that. Now, what would happen, Matt, will it change the description?
No,
If I commit
since the
it?
description's already Once the description's there, you have to actually manually change it. It doesn't do anything automatic anymore.
Okay, so that's a matter of housekeeping. I'll go ahead and take that off. Okay. And then if there were other runs on here, or if one of these was something I was using for, say, a DOC, a demonstration of capability, I can add that manually. I can say, I don't know, period, whatever, DOC. And that can be used for querying later on, if you choose. Or say if it was, I had DOCs on there and, I don't know, MDLs, or a PT. It could be used for tracking those kind of things. I can say, okay, commit it now, and now I can query, and I can say, well, give me all the DOC, worksheets have DOC in that description field, and I'll bring it up.
Switch your left tab.
Pardon?
Switch your left tab. Show them the
Click on worksheet tab, so we can see if there's any. Yep.
Yeah. So when you query like that, it'll bring up the worksheet IDs, and you can select, just like you can in other windows in the system. You can select which one you want to look at. Okay. So I can go up and update just like you can in other windows. If I forgot something, I forgot to relate this to a certain worksheet, I can do that. I can still go in and reorder these. I can't change the format, and I can't change the date created. What about these other fields, Matt? I can change those. I can change instrument. And then the somewhat dangerous part is where after you've committed, you could go in and update these records, just like you could when you were creating it. But you want to bear in mind that if you do that, you're potentially changing the position number over here. So if you create a worksheet and you set up a run and then had a change in plans, if you change the worksheet, you may be changing the position number, and it may be incompatible with your instrument run. If you're putting the worksheet down position in your instrument run, or if you're doing a prep, for instance, you made labels for your extract or your digestion, and you've included the position number, well, it may not match anymore. It would just spike up.
As well as
Well,
with
it's now in position 9.
Excel outputs and instrument interfacing and all that stuff.
I have a question on that though. Say at the end of the run, you made that, and then you wanted to add another sample and another QC, like a blank. So add a sample and a blank. It's not going to change the position numbers of the ones you have. You're just adding to it. So that's still okay.
Correct. So if you're just want to say a sample came in later in the day or something, you just want to add it to an existing worksheet, you can add row, and it'll just be position 11. You add it there, and all of these will remain unchanged.
So also an update, you can't, the undo QCs don't work
Yeah.
for previous sessions.
Yep. Mike was saying that is the difference too on the on the first session when you're creating the worksheet for the first time, you can undo QCs. But that undo only works for the active session that you're in. So if I were to add a QC now, I can undo only that one. What happens if I say undo all?
Try it.
Should just do
It
that
should-
one.
It should just do that one.
Just that's the one for that session.
Yeah, it's just for that particular add or update session that you can do undo.
Now, go
I'll say that
ahead.
again on the microphone. It's just only, the undo only works for things you have added in that current add or update session.
Can you move
But
the
you
rows
could-
around? Once you've committed, can you move the rows around and commit again?
Mhm.
You can't, yeah, Wolfgang's asking if you can move the rows around like, move up and down here? Yeah, if this 1264.10, I can move wherever I want it. But that's where, remember, when you do that, you're changing this position. Wherever you're bumping it, you're bumping something else out of position potentially. Other question?
You can still remove rows even though undo QC doesn't work. You can remove a QC that way, right?
Yes.
You can always do that.
You can always remove a row.
Okay. And it's not gonna renumber the accession number when you commit again?
I'm working on that. There's a little minor bug with that right now. I don't think it does renumber that right now, but I'm working on fixing it.
So it will eventually.
And the fix, Matt, would be so that this position will match that position.
Correct.
Is the fix then going to automatically renumber them or only renumber it once you hit commit?
I'm thinking. If I do it right, it'll do it automatically. It'll do it right away.
Thanks, Lester.
Good question.
It will, of course, always do it on commit.
When we were first building this one, I don't know if anybody noticed, I think we should mention this index number here, this X-21. It means
That's part of the
something.
same fix.
Okay. Matt says it's part of the same fix, but what happens, so you get a number here that doesn't make sense. X is just a temporary placeholder, and the number doesn't make sense, but when you commit, it orders properly.
What's the significance of that then? Like, is it just, you know, you're saying, you know, the position number doesn't match the 146.3 doesn't match that position 2. What's the significance of if it does? Like,
I think, and Terry will probably correct me on this, it comes into play when you're pulling things from other worksheets, like he was talking about earlier, when you're creating a worksheet, you want to pull something from another worksheet. What you're looking at on that other worksheet, when you pull it in, you're going to see that accession number as the QC from the other worksheet, and that'll tell you what position it was in.
Well, won't that also be important when we get the interface? I mean, it's more difficult to realize that 1264.3 is in position 2 than if it were numbered .2 when you're renaming things for interface purposes.
It will come into play with the interfaces depending on a particular interface is written or the way the lookup is done in the interface.
Carrie, you haven't talked about username.
Username is, I think, no different than worksheet creation. It's whoever is logged in to the system at the time of creation. Matt?
The difference now is you can change it.
The difference is you can
It
change.
defaults to whoever's logged in, but if you're creating a worksheet for somebody else because they don't have time for whatever reason, you can put their name on it because it's their worksheet.
I'm going to abort this. Messing around, we did. We could go and create the analytical worksheet that would go with this. It's going to be real similar. Okay, I guess we'll do that. But I need to complete those. So I can add them to the analytical worksheet, so. Anybody see what that number was?
1264.
1261?
It was 1264.
There it is. Save to Excel. A shortcut there. I don't think I'm going to put anything in here. I'm just going to save it out. Sure. And I'm not going to do the times on the overrides either. I'm just going to save it. Okay. Done, I guess. Okay, then I can go back to Builder and add a new worksheet. Add rows to that worksheet. And tends to lose semi-volatiles.
Excuse me.
Yes. Yeah. Take out the accession number. There we go. Okay, I'll add those. Should be there. There they are. I can look at the highlight the row, and then I can look at the analytes. Okay, so here you can see what's checked as reportable, and gives the option for selection of any of the other analytes to be reportable as well. So if I, at this point, know that I also need to report something else, I can check it there and we'll mark it as reportable. So, I don't think this one has a template. No template, nothing defined in the template. So, but I do want to add, say I want to add those QCs from the prep worksheet. Or maybe I want to just add everything from the prep worksheet. That's the one. There they are. There they are, inserted from the other worksheet.
Oh, the link didn't come in.
The link from the prep worksheet would still be pointing to the links on the prep worksheet. I'll let Matt explain.
Oh, you make me think, aren't you?
So you have to relink it, because it now needs to point to the analyses on the analytical worksheet. Those don't carry over.
Previously, we were linking the stuff you pulled over to its counterpart on the other worksheet. That was proving problematic and in some cases not desirable.
So if I need or want them linked, I have to do it again. I have to do it on the analytical worksheet too. So it's really similar to the prep. I wanted to show you where you can check the analytes here if you want to need to select something else as reportable. Here. You see it did pull in that other format. Again, it could be changed on when you're first building the worksheet, but not after you commit. And I realize now I put the instrument on the prep, which really wasn't right. We'll put it here. Okay. Go ahead and commit. And it fills out the description field. else have I missed? Any other questions? Lisa?
Last week, when we were testing this, we were trying to add analytes and it didn't do something right. That's fixed now, right? It actually, what was that? I can't even remember.
I believe what you're talking about is in update mode, adding supplemental analytes.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to figure that bug out.
Okay.
But it's only in update mode. In add mode, it works fine,
Okay.
from what I'm told.
And I can show what, so if I go to, I committed that worksheet, if I go to update, and it still allows me to check an analyte here, but if I say commit, it still shows it there, but it doesn't actually add it to the worksheet. Is that right?
You may have found an example that it worked fine. It seems to be a very specific case that I have not nailed down. Sometimes it'll work, sometimes it won't.
Oh, sure, it was just on the volatile stuff that didn't work, huh?
Overachiever.
Uh-huh.
That's about all I have. Are there any other questions?
These
Miranda?
features are in the OpenELIS manual.
Mhm.
Talk about how to do this stuff.
Mhm.
Yep, it's pretty much complete, isn't it, Mike? Everything,
Mhm.
all the buttons and everything are explained in there with screenshots. Each field is described.
One comment I want to make is that if you go and delete a row and the instrument interfacing has loaded the data into those rows, you're going to lose that data. If you delete it and insert a row just like it, you're still going to lose the data. Because the data was with what you deleted. So even if you put one just like it, that data is gone. If you move it up and down, that does not happen. So if you just move the row up and down, and if it has data with it, that will carry that. But if you were to delete the third row and insert one just like it, on the third row, that data is gone. Am I making sense to people?
Looking at my notes, I did have one other little tip. I don't know if it would help people or not. It's really not part of the builder per se. But I know some people, when they're, for instance, doing a prep, they like to let the analytical person know that that prep is done and it's ready to be worked on. So they might just tell them or send them an email or something. I just wanted to show this little snipping tool that is in Windows. You can use that snipping tool and take a screenshot like that, if you wish. And right from here, if you right-click, you can send it to somebody. And it'll just be a screenshot. It'll show them the whole worksheet right there. It might be useful in some cases. It won't work now because I don't have Outlook set up, but if I click on it, it'll say you don't have Outlook set up. But if you do, it'll take you right to a place where you can just send it to the person right there. And if
Is
you
that
didn't
full
clip it
Outlook
right,
or
you can
what?
reclip by saying new.
Full Outlook.
Outlook.
And just right click.
That snipping tool was on what?
It's, I usually
it's
find
part
it-
of Windows 7.
It's part of Windows 7, so yeah, you can just go to search, if you go to the button down here, and you just start typing snip, it'll come right up. And just click on it. Are we done?
Mm-hmm.
I think we're done. Thank you, everyone.
Please make sure you sign the sign-in sheet.
Yes.
Carrie,
Bill and I will be in Ankeny tomorrow, too, by the way.
Where did that come from?
Yeah, this one is gonna screw people off.
That's a month.